cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by and let you know that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's that huge audience I have here in the studio. Welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia, and welcome to yet another Coffee Time Live, coming to you from Paradise, aka Armenia, Colombia. It's another beautiful day, and got a little bit more Petro bashing to do today. Not much, a little thing. And a couple news things. It's not really a noteworthy week for news. There's not much happening. Sun's out, rain subsided. It's been pretty awesome. And feeling great, by the way. And my feet are almost back to normal. I can put my shoes on. Little tight. I wish I had a size bigger, which wouldn't be my size, but yeah, it would help. But yeah, I could put them on. I couldn't put them on before, so that's pretty cool. Okay, we got Rob. How you doing? How you doing? When are you gonna have those videos done? Let me know. John, good morning from Armenia. How are you doing? A little bit later, I'll be talking about something that I think you will agree and find interest in. Tex Blue Jeans, good morning from San Jose. I can't speak that Spanish stuff. Spanglish Angler. Buenos dias, amigo, from Tampa Bay, Florida. Robert, how you doing, Robert? Hello from Southern California. Dennis, welcome back, Dennis. Good morning from Paraguay. Okay. Turtle. Bucaramanga, the land of the heat. No, I'm just kidding. It's just gorgeous here, though. Mike, how are you doing? Video, audio, good. I really appreciate that. Good morning. Juka, greetings from Finland. And as always, I thank you so much. We've got, where is it? Right there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Dan Spencer, it's a beautiful today in Ibagué. I bet you it gets too hot in about an hour. Mucho calor. Yeah. Yeah, that was the only downside. You know, if it wasn't for the, I mean, for a lot of people, it wouldn't be too hot. It would be nice. Yeah, you know, I don't like hot. I lived a lot of my formative years on the equator, and I got sick of it. You get used to it, but I got sick of it. And it's a certain place it just reminds me of. But I love it. The city's amazing. I mean, there's no denying it. Aside from the fact that I love Manizales, and it's one of my favorite cities in the world, Bucaramanga might be the best city in Colombia. It certainly is the wealthiest city in Colombia. And you know it as soon as you get there. I mean, it's just endless high-rise. You think you're on Manhattan, but there might be more high rises in Bucaramanga. I don't know. Robert, welcome, Montreal, Canada. Okay. Let's see. Let's get to some news items here. And we'll do Q&A after we cover the news thing, but feel free to talk amongst yourself. Yeah, but I can't breathe. Yeah, I know. All right. He had to move to a low elevation. Okay. First one. Annual inflation in Colombia reached 13.25% in January, the highest this century since 1999. Not a great thing. You guys are always asking me. It's when you first started asking me and when it hit hard in the United States, it really wasn't much going on here. Little bits here and there. It's been steamrolling. And if I say exponential, it might give the wrong impression because it's not like we're going up this steep hill, but it certainly is gaining speed, it seems. And not thrilled with it. On the upside for us, the dollar is hanging in there. It's almost 4,700 yesterday when I looked. It's, hovers around the 45 to 4,000, which is, that's windfall. That's gift. Because it probably should be more like 38 to 4,000. So I'm happy as hell that it's at this place. It's put little disposable income in my pocket. So that's pretty awesome, even with the inflation. But every time I buy something, it seems like the price just keeps going up. I mean, I use eggs all the time as an example, but it's doubled. It had doubled in price as of like 2 weeks ago, and it was up to like 9,000 for a dozen, and now I think it was 10 or 11,000 the last dozen I just bought. It's craziness. Okay, so that's it for inflation. I hate to even mention this, but it was one of the only news items. This is in all of Quindío. They died with COVID, from COVID, all that's kind of suspect. They even mention it in the article that, true numbers are kind of unknown. I think, okay, the conspiracy in me always creeps out. The last 2 weeks, they've been doing these vax promos, coming to a barrio near you and get yours now, get it while it's hot. And, just a lot of little articles and things you run into, like doing this big promotion. And then all of a sudden, we haven't heard anything in quite a while, but they pop out with this. I don't know. On to the next. All right, here I get to my conspiracy goes into overdrive. Yeah, I'm biased. I'm definitely biased. So we had Rob, thank you. We had a meeting between Ecuador and Colombia, and I'll get to why people are who they are, and it's pretty hard to hide it. But it says they agreed to implement a plan against environmental crimes and organized crimes. So you got two things here. One, arguable, debatable. Two, absolute, definite, life-threatening, needs to have something done. So what's my thing here? Well, let's look what the president of Ecuador had to say. At the beginning of the meeting, Lasso stressed that one of the main challenges of the bilateral relationship is security cooperation to combat the phenomenon such as organized crime, illicit drug trafficking, and related crime. Pretty serious, hard to argue. So, what's our commie say? Likewise, Petro said that the region has the greatest potential for clean energy in the world, for which he urged his counterpart to jointly develop agreements that protect the jungle and the ocean. Colombia and Ecuador can be a fundamental axis of the planet, of geopolitics, but ultimately of life and human existence. He also spoke of the need for energy integration. Half of that, I don't even know what the hell he's saying. Of life and human existence. We're going to be a fundamental axis of the geopolitics of the planet. A little grandiose, don't you think? Now, look, I'm all for not messing up the Amazon, keeping the oceans clean. I mean, who isn't? You got to be an idiot to not be that way. And Ecuador has been fighting their battle for years because some oil companies went into the Amazon, drilled some oil, made a mess. Of course, they were kicked out of the country. And usually when you're doing things like mining or oil, there will be a mess, but when you leave, you clean it up. But they were kicked out because it was a government takeover, basically. So there's that. But the oil companies did leave a mess. There's been international lawsuits going back and forth for quite a while. And it's not something you want to see. It needs to get paid for. And if the oil companies were going to do it before and they got an excuse why they didn't, well, then do it now. I mean, it's not like, you weren't going to do it, supposedly. So, you have issues like that, but they're handling it fine. Colombia and Ecuador do have some issues with illegal mining going on. Now, in Ecuador, it tends to be a little more harmful to nature than the way it's been done in Colombia, but it could be equally harmful depending on what they're trying to mine and how they're doing it. Some things that you mine are going to be kind of toxic, and if you let those things into the water table, then you got a serious problem. So definitely there should not be illegal mining for the simple fact that you have to control how it's done so that you're not killing a population. Got no problem with that. On the other hand, those things are being done. Both countries have active police type groups out to find illegal mining. So what else are we talking about? It looks to me like Lasso is, kind of desperate to get something done on this crime end because it's beginning to overwhelm Ecuador. And our guy doesn't really want to talk about that. Of course, then again, might be because he's got a history of personal ties with some of the. Well, no, we don't want to go there. That's too far in the conspiracy. Okay, you guys wanted me to talk about him. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of it's tongue in cheek. Some of it's not. The information's real. Good morning from Austin, Texas. Buenos dias, Canada. How you doing? Judy. Hello, Judy. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. As you guys know, you'll ask me occasionally, what about this YouTuber? What about that YouTuber? And I tell you the same thing. It's like, I really don't pay attention to these unless for some particular reason it's brought to my attention. Even then, I blow off half of them. Sorry. I just get aggravated with most of them. But occasionally, something good comes along, and I'll tell you about it. And in the last 2 years, I've probably told you, I'm thinking 3 YouTubers. Everybody else I don't want to talk about. So I've promoted or told you about what I think is good quality videos that have real information. And if it's first impressions are not very accurate, those videos usually temper it by mentioning that. It's the ones that come in, you know, they spend an afternoon and somehow they put themselves out as experts and everything they're telling you is wrong. Yeah, I got a problem with those. But I got one today that I want to tell you about, and I highly recommend that you check it out. It's this couple that have been living in Colombia for a year. She's from Bogota. He's, I believe, U.S. She's got a cute accent. I think she was working in the U.S. and living there. And they've been traveling around Colombia. They spent a few days I guess they spent a few weeks pretty much where they go. So they've got video on Cali. They got video on Manizales here in Armenia, Medellin, Bogota, you know, different places. And I think they're outstanding. So I'm going to look at these comments here, and then I'm going to show you who I'm talking about. What part of Canada? I'm from Toronto. I was across the lake from you in Toronto. I was from Rochester for quite a while. A little more difficult to donate than in the past. One has to leave the broadcast to do so. Interesting you're using after what you have said in the past about PayPal. That's because it's a different PayPal, believe it or not. This is a South American PayPal. And while they have the same name and they're affiliated and they probably have some kind of a marketing agreement, they're a different type of operation, and that's why. I will never use the U.S. And there's a lot of things that I could have done in the past had I had PayPal. There was no way I was going to do it. I kind of stumbled into this because somebody I know here in Colombia was saying, well, why don't you use PayPal? And so I gave they're robbers, this, that, and the other thing. Well, you know, we have our own. So I looked into it, and sure enough, they have their own. And they have different sets of rules and things like that. So figure, what the hell, give it a shot. I won't leave a lot of money in it and do a lot of buying and selling like I did in the U.S., because that just left the door open for them to glom their hands onto a couple $1,000s without any kind of good reason. But so yeah, that's why, and that's very observant of you, and you're exactly right, and that's the reason. And it took me, it took me a number of months before I was convinced and had read enough information to decide to go ahead and do it. As far as donating, I don't know. When you have YouTube, you're right. You can click on it while you're watching the video and like that. Downside, they take 40%, but it doesn't matter. It's a moot point because they demonetize me, which means I can't do any of those things. It's just how it is. So financially, they kick me off. Now, as far as video goes, that's fine. Never had a strike against me. Don't ever do anything wrong. And my record with them acknowledges that. And I can run those, and they run advertising on them. They just don't pay me anything on the advertising. They keep it. So that's why it's different. So this is, like the closest I could do, or on my website. I've got like 4 or 5 different ways to contribute to the channel, but I just can't do it directly with YouTube. We're getting very close to having some of the features that the reason I hang with YouTube, some of those features being available. Right now, most of them are available for Odyssey. Rumble's probably the slowest of the pack. Since they went public, they have improved a lot of things that I complained about in the past. So if they have those features, I might make the move to Rumble. Odyssey seems to be a lot more steady. Steady as you go. Be sure of what you put up. I never get any glitches out of them. So I'm hoping for Odyssey because I like the way they do business. Rumble, well, we got some more money, so let's rush. And then on the back end, you get some issues. Videos will play. You can watch the videos, no issue. You have to be on the back side of it, that controls uploading the videos and that kind of stuff to run into the issues. Okay. All right, where were we? Oh, yes. Let me show you a short clip. Some of you who have come here to Armenia and stayed at a certain building that has 4 or 5 Airbnbs will appreciate this and might laugh a little bit. It is not my friend's place, but it's right next to it practically. Here we go.
I really like
Maybe.
it.
Hold on. There.
So there's a problem with this Airbnb. We've only been here for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. We shut the door and we're locked out. Like, we got locked out. We're locked out with this amazing view. What'd you do? You shut the door and it locked.
I didn't shut it. I thought you could open it from outside because it's normal. I shut the balcony door, and now we're here stuck.
We're stuck on this balcony on the 9th floor with this amazing view. Really, really nice weather. So at least I know we're probably not gonna suffer. Just gonna sit here for a while. Enjoy it.
Okay. They're both digital nomads. They travel with their laptops. They earn while they're out on the road. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. So they're self-supporting. Their videos are not only well done, but I think they're very interesting. And they don't follow the old formula of, do 10 minutes or less kind of thing, because that's what YouTubers will tell you. And it's a certain algorithm thing. They do enough of the video to do what they want to do, and I really appreciate that. A number of their videos are maybe around a half an hour. I've got a bit of an attention span, so it's no problem. The first one I saw was that one, and of course it caught my eye. I mean, I know that building. It actually, as he was looking at the scenery, you could see my old building and my house in the background. It was so well done that I just was really impressed. And I don't, even if I like them, I don't go watch a lot of the videos. After Wahira, I usually try to watch hers when they come out. But a lot of them, I just don't. I did watch part of 2 others. But if it comes along, if it looks of interest, I will. The topic doesn't really interest me because mostly so far they're talking about things I've already been there, done that, and they're telling me things I already know. But I think they're very valuable. I think they're well done. I think they're very interesting. Highly recommend them. Mike Jarvis. So what do we got? Grinning face with big eyes, grinning face with big eyes. Okay. John, hey Mike, hey John. I prefer the 12th floor better. Is 12th floor where all the swimming pool and jacuzzi and exercise and 360 view of the city, and they cover that in that video. They go up and spend some time. They cover a lot of things in that half an hour. And so who are they? Get your pen and paper out, or save your spot on this video and go back and look at it. I'm going to put it up here. The name of that video is Locked Out on Balcony, Armenia, Colombia. So you could do a search there. It's Life Theory Couple. Life Theory Couple. So if you get a chance, check it out. I think you really appreciate it. Could you mention the Digital Nomads channel again, please? Well, I didn't mention it to begin with. I have to look it up. Let me see what I can do here. I hate to leave. Where is it? There we go. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm getting it. I believe that's it. It's okay. Too late. He just did. Rob, how you doing, Rob? Comes right up when you search Life Theory Couple. Yeah, I would think so. All right. So that's my news for the day. It's my Petro comedy corner. Not so funny. But we're going to call it that because it seems most comedians aren't funny anymore anyway. So who would have known I became a comedian? Mostly because I caught up with the way they've changed. So they were funny. They became unfunny. I'm unfunny. So, you know, I'm with the times now. Okay. That's it with those. Any questions? Petro Comedy Corner. Yeah. Yeah. Let's make it official. I don't have a Bills game to go to. My voice still fades out after a little while. God telling me to shut up. It's asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. Okay, what do we got? Yes, I did get out a little bit. I will say that I told you that my shoes are too tight. And so only because of that, I just like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to do too much because I was getting blisters just for a short walk. But I think everything's okay. Everything seems to be fine. You just have to keep shrinking down a little bit more. Shoes will fit a little bit better. I noticed I put on these canvas loafers. I figured they'd be the most comfortable. And when I got back, the top of my feet, which is really the only place that's swollen now, had actually stretched that canvas shoe a little bit. I hope that they still fit when everything's back to normal, but you can almost see daily where they're going down. And for a while, it's like I really wasn't seeing the change, and it's like a couple weeks. What's going on? But then it's okay. I'm selling a house in Salento. Any recommended real estate agents and websites? No. Oh, Dan, I see yours up there. I'll get up to it. I don't really use real estate agents. I've used a couple in the past. That isn't anything I would actually recommend. So what I'm saying is I don't know if who I've used is better or worse than the rest of them. My issue with them, if you're selling, beware that the agents and their zealousness to pocket all the money they can cause you to lose a sale. They don't want to be flexible, even if you might be a little flexible. But get an agent, talk it over with them. I think if you got a house out there, that's probably the way to go because you're not going to have people walking by. As far as websites go, everybody uses Facebook, but then the agents will have their own also and tie it to Facebook. So that's what that's what I would recommend. Dan, have you heard anything about coming paros? Nope. October, I think. When's the usual? I think it's in October. It's annual. It's every year, and sometimes I'll have a special edition. But no, not expecting anything, right now. Good morning, New Jersey. Go Eagles. Yeah, we don't talk football on this channel. Not anymore. The more I've learned about Colombia over the years, I've come to learn why you live and like Armenia so much more peaceful and simple. Yeah, it's I'm really I don't I'm not looking for you guys to move to Armenia. And if you've followed me for any length of time, when I'm in places, it's not like when I was living in Cuenca, I wasn't there, waving the banner and talking about how amazing it was. It was nice. There were a lot of nice things about it. And I tend to be a kind of positive person. I would show, point out the nice things. And occasionally, to temper it, I might do a video to point out some of the things to be careful of. But of the couple hundred I did while I was living there, you could count on one hand the ones that I would, kind of temper it with. But none of it was like just glowing. Maybe a cup of coffee and a view, I might have had a glowing thing to it. But in general, no, it's a great place to live. It was nice, but wouldn't want to live there. It had its time for me. And when I was in Manizales, it's an awesome city, love it. I'm not living there. And I didn't have the same kind of zeal for it as I do here. And as I've said before, some of it's historic. I've got ties going back a long time that are good feeling, nice moments in my life. So, you have to acknowledge that. But it is, for me, it's my paradise. I absolutely love it here. Now, I've contemplated going back to Manizales, maybe for a year. Living there for a year. I thought about going to Bucaramanga for a year. Not with an intention to stay, but, just kind of go experience some new landscape. Armenia is kind of small. And you can do that if you're renting. So I've seriously thought about it. And if one day I just kind of uproot myself and say, hey, I'm going to Manizales, don't be surprised. I might do that. But the thing is, when I'm in Armenia, I don't want it to be for a year. I mean, this is where I want to be. And that's why I don't go to these places. Manizales is such a far superior city than Armenia is. But if you're doing your pros and cons, this tech ticks almost all the pros and has almost no cons for me. You could be completely different. But isn't that wonderful? We have all these differences. And it's not just the coffee region, because Bucaramanga is not in the coffee region. But would I ever live in Medellin or Bogota or Cali? Absolutely not. Hell no. Hell no. Bogota, I'm from cold. Bogota's got a wicked kind of cold when it's cold, especially at night. It's got a wind that rips through you with this sandpaper wind. But that's not even my issue, because you can get a coat and put it on. It's got way too many people. What do you got? 10, 12 million people? I don't know. It's got a whole bunch of people. It's a big city. There's crime everywhere, as big cities will be, and you're not safe from being pickpocketed because you're in a nice neighborhood, because thieves aren't stupid. And maybe that's where the hunting grounds are. So there's just a lot of things that go on in big cities. I've said before, Medellin, it's an amazing city, very modern. It's got so much going for it. The transportation system's amazing there, but it's got horrendous traffic. It's got pollution that just kind of settles down, and it'll be there for a day or two or three, and then it'll clear up a little bit, and then it settles down again. I'm not a fan of that stuff. Cali, it's filthy, it's hot, it's full of criminals. I mean, it's right next to the headquarters of most of the crime in Colombia. There's just nothing there for them, and it's a big city. And all of these places have their nice areas, the places you would want to visit. You might even want to live there, but it comes with all this other crap. I'm not interested in it. And I've said this many times before. I love where I am, and Manizales is awesome. I don't like there's few places elsewhere in Colombia that I have any interest in at all. You know, I'll go, I'll make a video, I'll hang out. And I've been to most places, but I don't know. It feels like home. I got carried away, didn't I? I did it again. Sorry. I don't know what happens to me. But I'm glad, I'm glad you're seeing things about Colombia. I wouldn't just focus on Armenia, because I don't want to be the guy who brought in a whole bunch of people, a few dozen. It's no big deal, because there's almost nobody here. It doesn't make any difference. God forbid that this turned into, the Mecca for gringos and end up with 1,000 of them. It's like, it would be terrible. But there are places to look at beyond these big cities. Where another thing, okay, I'm not done with my rant. Another thing about these big cities, Cali, that's Colombia. Bogota, it's a 50-50. Medellin, it's not even Colombia. I mean, it is, but it isn't. When people's behavior is dramatically changed by the tens of thousands of tourists that overwhelm that place, it changes the people, and their focus becomes different. They're very materialistic and money oriented there. It's so different than what I refer to as the real Colombia, or the untarnished Colombia, where that's way down on the list of priorities. I mean, number one is family. Community is important. There's a lot of things that holds an importance in the rest of Colombia that are not priorities in places like Medellin. Doesn't mean it's not an awesome place, but it's almost like a sanitized, well, I can't say sanitized, that word doesn't apply, a filtered version of what Colombia really is, in my opinion. Okay. Good morning from rainy Northern California. How you doing, George? Not rainy here. Finally. Good morning. Oh, I said that. Robert, I got the Ernst & Young tax summary from their office in Bogota. Petro is raising. Yeah, not happy. Also, worldwide tax on assets. Yeah, keep us informed. If you have some specifics, feel free to shoot me off an email. On the other hand, it's a little discouraging. Check out SAS Sneaks, handmade out of Texas, Velcro instead of laces. I just use a slip-on, like what do you call them? Yachting shoes or boating. I forget what they're called, but it's some kind of nautical theme. And they're just like canvas, rubber sole, slip-on. I had a pair of Levi's, and they lasted me forever. I did a memorial video because after, I forget now, it's like I'd walked, I don't know, I went back and I figured out how much I had walked in those shoes over the course of a number of years. And it was thousands of miles. And they held up for, I think I finally had to bury them after 4 years. They had holes in them. The sole was coming off. I didn't want to give them up, but it was to the point where I didn't really have any choice. And they were really getting ripe. And I was afraid to wash them anymore because they would fall apart. So I had to get rid of them. So I did a video about farewell, my friend. So, I like those. They make those here, something similar here in Colombia. And I got them, and I ordered them a size larger, and I think they're 2 sizes smaller. I can get them on, but they're too tight. Well, right now I couldn't get them on, but they're too tight. So I may order those again. And then a friend of mine came in, and they're called Vans. He had a brand new pair that he had no use for. I think they were the wrong size or something. So had the tags on, gave them to me. Those have been awesome. Love those. So that brand Vans, whatever it is, it's a quality brand. I'm guessing, because these are quality. Olivia, how you doing, Olivia? You're new here. Welcome. You may be in the background. First time you've been in chat. Appreciate you coming along. Petro News, pushing to eliminate all apps. Uber, suspend the driver's car, using the app. Uber was illegal for quite a period of time. Somebody said that they're sort of legal again, but they shouldn't be. And I've explained why. And if he's trying to get rid of those, then there might be policy of his that I actually would agree with. And that's kind of shocking. But, I think it's important enough, I'll say it here. Ubers have virtually no expense and no oversight. Taxis, they're registered, they have a permit, they have to pay for the meter certification. I think it's twice a year. They have to buy their own taxis for the most part. And they have to be set up as taxis. They're not just whatever car you have, jump in and boom. And what gets me is that the taxis, which, have a big plaque so you could track them. If you get in a taxi and you're worried, you could snap a picture of the number and, you can always report them. You have all that going on. In an Uber, you don't have any of that. Yet, the fees are similar. It's hardly fair when a taxi has to pay for the permit and all the stuff that he has to pay for to provide that service. You got an Uber, all he has to do is have a car. It's not right. It's not fair. Taxis deserve better. And the U.S. used to have this kind of talk too. But anyway, I hit the thumbs up. Olivia, thank you. I appreciate it. Robert, lots of Roberts here. You're a new one too, I think. Mercado Libre, do it yourself. What are we doing? I'm losing track here. Robert, would be nice to provide a link to the tax summary mentioned if he or she would provide. Well, he said he had a conversation with somebody, but yeah, feel free. Do you know any good visa attorneys or services to help me get my pension visa? Thanks. I recommend one I've had good success with. It's been kind of crazy with the change because the changes, it's like no one seemed to know. And the one that I've had, some people have had trouble with, but it wasn't really with her. It was with the changes, and she would put things the way they'd say, and then they'd kick it back and say, no, but you got to have this. Well, why didn't you say that to begin with? I think it's settling down, and people that I knew that were in the middle of this, it seems like everything's shaking out and they're getting their visas, and that's fine. I would stay away from visa attorneys, honestly, unless you've got a pension visa. You don't need a visa attorney. I'm going to generalize, but it's more true than not. Attorneys tend to try to pump everything up. They tend to exaggerate. I've read a number of emails from attorneys to people, and the first thing I do is talk about how terrible it is and all these things that they're going to have to do. And they assign you to do some of them. and none of it's true, you know, and I read these things and I gag. But the more difficult they make it sound, the more they can charge. I would stick with a Visa agent. Okay, I'm losing track here. The honeymoon stage for Colombia is officially over for me. It's funny how I find myself looking for smaller, non-big tourist cities. The current atmosphere in certain cities is atrocious. Couldn't agree more. I've said over and over again that there's many places in Colombia I wouldn't live, I do not like. There's places like Popayan. Nothing in particular wrong with it. It's just ugly as sin. Everything's white. Well, they're proud of it. You know, it's their calling card. If you ask anybody, you know, in Colombia, where's the white city? They'll say Popayan. Big deal. It's ugly. It's boring. You know, it's like every house I've ever lived in because I've been too lazy to paint the walls and they came white. You know, it's like I'm not going to paint them, but man, I wish somebody would come in and paint my walls for me. Yeah, just Pasto. You might as well be living in Ecuador. It's all the same thing. They even eat the guinea pigs. You know, yeah. Yeah, I told you about Bogota, Ibagué. Ibagué is a pretty cool place. I wouldn't not recommend it. It's just a little warmer than here. And I'm not, you know, as I said, I'm not a big fan of it. But there are places in Ibagué where you can kind of tuck up to one of the mountains and catch one of those breezes there. Kind of like here in Armenia. If you're in the south, it can get pretty hot, but you're in the north, you always get the breeze, and it never really gets very hot. So Ibagué can be like that. I think it's a viable option. I mean, it's maybe fifth on my list. It's all, you know, it'll never happen. But yeah, Stony, Ibagué, yeah, okay. Maybe I caught that out of my eye. Cartago, why? I mean, there's lots of places you can live. It doesn't mean there's anything in particularly special about them or endearing about it, or, you know, I can come up with a dozen things here, Manizales and Cartago. I mean, about the best thing you could say, well, it's close to Pereira, you know, so I can go to some of the fantastic malls that are in Pereira. I mean, it's it's on the road from Cali to Pereira. Okay, you Cartago lovers, I know you're swearing at me right now, but it's all opinion, right? It's okay, Lauren. Colombia's a source of enthusiasm. It is for me. Fly into Pereira 17th, take shuttle or taxi, to Armenia for 6 days if I can, and buy you lunch. All for that, take a taxi to the bus terminal, get on the bus, either Metro or Trans-Armenia. It'll cost you about 9,000 pesos. Take that into Armenia. It's not going to take, the time is going to be very similar, and the cost is a world of difference. I mean, it's ridiculous how much, yeah, just listen to me. Listen to me. Fly in, taxi to the terminal, bus, Metro, or Trans-Armenia. They're little 15-seat buses, AC, cell phone recharge, and then take that bus to Armenia terminal. And then from there, take a taxi to wherever you're staying. Glad to see you haven't coughed once. Major improvement. I am completely, totally, 100% healthy. Still got elephant feet, but they barely even hurt anymore. I mean, it's a massive improvement. Oh my God, I totally remember the memorial video for those shoes. Yeah, somebody accused me of clickbait. Well, I was serious about it, but I suppose You know, you think you're doing a memorial and you find out it's about shoes, but those shoes were close to my heart. I can't, you know, it's like we've done an awful lot. Deck shoes, that's it. Vans are a good brand. I'm guessing they are because these are awesome. Emil, he's the one that gave me those shoes. Good morning. Izad is a good brand of shoe. Yeah, but you didn't give me Izads. Or did you? Am I all wrong? Why am I thinking they're Vans? Tell me what it is you gave me. I swear there's a Vans tag on it. I'm not new here. No, did I say you were new? No, you're not new. There was a different Robert. Yeah, the one below. Here, this guy. This one. The company is called Vans of the Wall, and they're for skateboarders. Great shoes. Really? Okay. Follow Olivia. Let's all hit thumbs up. Who's Olivia? I know she's watching, but who's Olivia? Sure. Ask a single Colombian women if she would rather ride in an Uber or a taxi. People are scared of taxis. Fix the taxis first to be trusted. Eliminate Uber. Yeah, but there's no basis for that. In Medellin, for example, there's more surrounded crime, like Ubers taking people out to the middle of nowhere and getting them robbed. By far more with the so-called Ubers, they're not really Ubers, than with taxis. Taxis have a lot at risk. And if they get caught doing a crime, their career's over. They'll never get a permit again. It just won't happen. They got too much at risk. It's their livelihood. So the chances of them being involved in that are really slim. With Uber, you do have tracking and records, which actually gives you in the U.S., you have that. You don't really have that here. And the thing is, anybody can sign up. Anybody can go sign up for Uber and provide the information, but there's no check, there's no inspection, there's nothing to say it's valid, and maybe signing up for his criminal brother, and his criminal brother is going to be doing the driving. It's a whole different ballgame. I mean, I know some of you are married to Uber, particularly because you love it in the U.S., but it's a different thing here. And I know a lot of people in Medellin swear by it, but the facts are the facts. And if that's where the problems are, that's where the crime tends to be. Let's see, we got more defense of Uber here. Drivers are cleared and have reviews. You have driver's name, license, and nothing to verify that any of that is true. I mean, you could say it, but it's not there. Taxis have to prove themselves. They're going through a licensing process. They're on the ground. Somebody is physically checking that car and checking the meter and certifying that meter, all of that. None of that happens with Uber. Yeah, again, we call it Uber, but they're not. We got a service here in Armenia. Everybody calls it Uber. It's just on WhatsApp. They don't even have an app. It's just on WhatsApp. You know, you get a hold of them, and it's a group of people. Here in Armenia, it's not a problem, and they're way cheaper. They're like half the price. But I still won't use them for all those same reasons. I don't think it's fair. There's no metro in Armenia. No, you don't need one. You can actually, from the south part of the north to much of the north part, you can walk that half an hour. I mean, and Robert says, Izad is the shoe. Vans look similar. So I got a pair of Izad. Okay. I take all that back. Why did I think they were Vans? I don't know. Vans were all the rage in 1994 in the town where I grew up. I never claimed to be, well, I'd say hip, but the actual original word was hep, as in hepcat. Uber in Paraguay also has tracking. Additionally, it's a different country. It was, all right, Uber here came in and just started operating. The government shut them down and said, nope, you can't legally operate. They eased up about a year ago, around COVID time, actually, and they kind of snuck back in. But you have tracking. Okay, if there's no checking on who these people actually are and who's actually driving that car when this is going on, and the car is just a civilian, there's no marking, there's no permitting, there's no signage on it, it's just a car, and he drives you off on some back street where some thugs come out at gunpoint and rob you and take you all your stuff and maybe pistol whip you, and the car drives away. Okay, so you report it. There's tracking. What is that going to do for you? Well, it's not going to do anything. And then even if they track down that car, well, the guy who set up with Uber, he was off somewhere else and can prove it. It's just, there's certain things you watch out for. Motorcycles with two people on them, and the streets are relatively quiet. If you're out there walking kind of alone and a motorcycle pulls up with another person on it, or not even with another person, but usually yes, and they ask you for directions, probably thieves. Dealing with Ubers, you have a huge potential as compared to the taxis. Set that aside. Even if that's not the case, let's say it's equal. You still have a taxi system where you have these men primarily supporting their families and their extended families on this job. They had to buy the car, they had to pay for the permit, they got to pay for the meter, all the things that I said in order to be legal. And then you got an Uber sliding in who downloaded a free app, who didn't have to do squat, taking money from him. It's not fair. I don't know how anybody can justify that that's fair. Okay, enough of that. Enough of the Uber. We can agree to disagree. I had foot surgery and I had many problems and tried many shoes. Oh, many? But I had the most success with Merrell's hiking boots. There was a time many years ago, I had plantar fasciitis, if I got that right. Oh my God, most painful thing in the world. And I was prescribed these weird looking wooden shoes that they form the base to your foot. Back then it cost me like $150 when you can buy a decent pair of shoes for $50. It had leather tops. I think they were German. Ugliest shoes you ever saw. I mean, they look kind of like those rubber things with the holes in them, kind of that shape. But oh my God, it was the most comfortable shoe I ever wore in my life, and it actually healed my foot. Don't know how, but yeah, it was worth the money ultimately. I almost didn't get them because I go in, I'm looking at this, going no. All the emphasis on validating meters on taxis not relevant to Uber because the price is known before you enter the car. No, I'm pointing it out as something that it's an expense the taxi has to do that the Uber does not have to do. Biden administration is now providing balloon rides for free. Welcome to the Petro Comedy Corner. I know, but think you suggested to someone he'd take the metro. No, not the metro. The bus. The bus line is called Metro. It's actually a part of the country, or the company of Palmira Expresso. and it's called Metro. So no, not the Metro. Yeah. So there's two bus lines. One is called Metro. The other is called Trans-Armenia. I tend to prefer the Trans-Armenia, and they run out about every 15 minutes. Metro is every half hour or so, and the Trans-Armenia tend to be a little nicer. They're usually new buses or close to it. Taxis that you don't have to wait are a tremendous convenience. Meters keep the prices honest. I support local taxis. Yeah, it's a hell of a lot easier to get a taxi usually, because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. If I want a taxi here, I call the guard, and 3 to 5 minutes, it's at my doorstep. Javier, how you doing, my friend? Hello. We got to get together. Go get some chorizo at the Esquina de Chorizo or something like that. Life is not fear. Well, I agree. Crocs. Yeah, that's it. You know, Crocs are butt ugly. And those German shoes were butt ugly. But there's no denying they worked. Oh my God, no more Uber. Uber has been safe for me, personal choice. Everything's safe until something happens. But if you've got 4 times the issue with one versus the other one, which one statistically is going to be safer? Go with what's legal. Why pay for all this permit to drive a taxi? Yeah, just quit driving a taxi and go to Uber. Do you have a link to your house for sale in Salento? I might be interested. You know, there's more gringos in the Salento area than there is in Armenia. My cop friend told me that. There's something like 200 that live, of course, it's a big area because countryside, but there's about 200 that live. Well, this was as of a couple years ago, so I don't know now. In Medellin, you better take a photo, play to the taxi before you send your date home, or you get into the car and the driver sees you do it. Okay. Taxis. Are we still on this? Union members, payback for presidential elections. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what a presidential election would do for, I don't know how that would work. I could see for a mayor or something in their city. Birkenstocks, that's it. That's what those were, Birkenstock. Man, you guys are on the ball. I couldn't remember that for the life of me. And they're ridiculous priced. But I never had shoes before that took the print of my foot and then made the soles to match it. And it was out of wood. It was crazy. I felt fine with taxis. Just have to be aware how they drive. They tend to take scenic route for some odd reason. A lot of people think that, and it may be the case. Here in Armenia, you might think that, but actually, if you look at the overall picture, talk to other people, they know where there's roads are likely to be congested. They know where there might be construction or something going on. They do, you know, they report to each other every day of what to watch out for, what, you know, and they'll take routes accordingly. I found that to be the case. You know, now you might be in another place where it's more touristy, and maybe they're going to take the scenic route just to kind of run up the meter or something. I mean, it's very possible. But I find that where a lot of people, at least in a place like this, think that and I saw this actually in Ecuador quite a bit, where they think that the taxi's taking them for a ride. And it turns out the taxi's actually taking them the best route for that moment. So, because it's nobody's advantage to sit in traffic forever, unless there's no other way around it. And so you kind of have to take that into account. I've come here in Armenia, I've come to be very trusting of these taxis. I don't recommend that for most cities, but here, absolutely. If I had a problem, taxi driver would be a guy I'd go to for help. They're just pretty awesome here. I'm Belgian. Okay. Part of the conversation. Didn't mean to break in there. Thanks for the information regarding the taxis. Did not know that I spent 2 months in Armenia last year and will be moving there in 2 or 3 months. I did not know that Uber was not regulated. Well, they have no way to do it. You know, you get the app, you give them the information, but they don't really have any way to really verify that. There's no personal contact. There's no licensing like that involved. Where the taxi, there absolutely is. So all those things stack up to being a safer operation. Okay. Yeah, I think Armenia, Circasia are better taxi drivers versus Pareda. Yeah, Pareda is more, you know, it's like rush, more impersonal. I mean, I've told you guys this a million times, but where do you see taxis stop, hold up traffic to let an old couple get across the street, you know, or they'll stop for animals, or they'll just stop for somebody that looks like they've been waiting a while, and they'll let people go, and they'll smile and wave. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've given, you know, I paid for the taxi, and there'll be something like 100 pesos left, which, what is that? A third of a cent, or I don't know, it's minuscule, whatever it is. And I just don't even think about it. I get out and I don't even think it's not even a tip. I get out and I'm in a hurry, and I go to do my thing. And the taxi toots his horn, rolls his window down if it's not already down. Hey, calls me back to give me that 100 peso. That's happened so many times. Okay, we got some things here. I got an anonymous tip, probably Jerry, but I don't know. Olivia, I need to find out who this Olivia is, but subscribe to the channel. Anonymous, be there on the 17th if I can buy you lunch. Thank you. Now I know who you are. Rob, glad you're feeling better. No more than me. Another anonymous. Well, one of you is Jerry, one of you is not. So anyway, thank you. Thank everybody. Thank you, one and all. God bless you, one and all. Matthew was me, the Pareda guy. I hope you're liking Pareda more than I do. Freebird, what do you think of the neighborhood around Portel Condillo? A good place to live. Does that neighborhood have anything, or is it a little far out from the rest of the city? No, you're in the heart of, there's a nightclub. Well, I think there's 1 or 2 nightclubs there. Used to be more. COVID changed up a lot of things, but it's got its mini Zona Rosa across the street. You got a whole bunch of really good restaurants. One of the best Italian restaurants, Bianco, is down the street from there. You got some nice places to live. You got some nice single houses. You got some nice high rises. You got some really good coffee shops and things like that. Nah, you got a ton of things there. It's one of the 4 that I recommend. And then there's some second tier places that actually came up. When I used to come over from Ecuador, I made 8 trips back and forth to see if Colombia was anything like it used to be. And on all but one of those trips, I stayed in the Galan barrio, which is right where the Sena is, which is right next to the Unicentro Mall. It's behind it. And in that area, it's mostly single houses, but there's a couple high rise, we'll say like 6 stories. It's very safe, nice neighborhood. Houses are a little bit older. On the other hand, they tend to be pretty spacious. There's some cool coffee shops, and like one of the better fruit places is on the corner across from a coffee shop I used to go to, and it does nothing but, it's indoors, but does nothing but sell fruit and take orders, and they'll deliver it. There's some cool things in that neighborhood. I call it a second tier based on how I feel about things. I like things a little bit more modern. I like areas that tend to be a little more walkable, things like that. But there's a lot going for an area like that. But there's 4 that I recommend in the north of Armenia that I think are very, very awesome. Where I live on the Centenario line, Castellania, probably the best area of Armenia, the Port El Condillo area, and some of the area around Fundadores, Parque Fundadores. George, thank you. George, tip was me, forgot to input my name. Appreciate it. I fly into Pareda on 17th from Virginia Beach. Just bought my tickets to Colombia. It's early June. Looking forward to it very much. Awesome. If it's okay for you to post your email here in chat, I could post you an old version of my ad. Okay. Boom. Yet another anonymous. You guys with your anonymous. Most people tell me they don't want anybody to know who they are. And when I do thank yous and things, that's why I usually use like first names or something like that. You drove a taxi in Buffalo. Talking to me? No, I have no connection with taxis. I've never been a big fan of taxis, at least in the U.S. But I learned a lot about taxis down here living in Ecuador because I had a good friend who was retired but drove a taxi for money. And it was interesting. He was a professor in the university in Loja, and he retired on a government pension. And when the socialist president ran for office, he promised everybody an increase in their pension to get their votes, and it worked. And his pension it quadrupled, which is why Ecuador is struggling, part of why they have such a debt. But his pension quadrupled. But here's a guy that through his entire working life, he built and bought a number of places that he rents out. He's got a beautiful house of his own, family, and then he retired. Still kind of young and vibrant. I think he's maybe, I don't remember. I'm guessing he was around 60. You could tell there was a lot of years left in his life. And he got himself a little pickup truck, which out where I lived at that time, that's what taxis were. They need to be a little rough, rugged. And his new job while he was drawing retirement was driving taxi. So we had a lot of talk about that. But he even told me, what he made on his pension, what he made with his taxi. This guy was, I would say he was fairly wealthy. I won't say he was rich. It's not like he's going to go out and buy a yacht, but he had a fair amount of money. He was earning way more money than he could spend, and a lot of property and things like that. And I learned a lot about taxis, how they operate. This issue that we're talking about, when I came to Colombia, I've talked to taxi drivers here, and there's a lot of similarities to it. So I appreciate the fact that they put a lot into doing the right thing, and then you got somebody that comes along with no experience, no licensing, no driver's license, and just kind of comes in and swoops in and takes your money that you're trying to feed your family with. So I don't know. Now, am I saying taxi drivers are all right? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he was in a situation where through his life, he invested his money when he was a professor at the university, and then he had that retirement that went up 4 times, and then on top of that, he was driving a taxi. Okay. Tip was from me. Thanks for the information on neighborhoods. Freebird, you're more than welcome. That's why I'm here. We went 15 minutes over. We're going to call it here. Thank you for the burst of goodwill. I appreciate it very much. I will put it to good use. I'm in the planning stage now to fulfill some of the things that I couldn't over the last months when I was sitting in my chair dying. Okay. Whatever football team you're cheering for, I wish you the best. Sadly for me, football season is over. I could give a crap about who's playing what and where and when. Could care less. But as a solid Bills fan, I will repeat our motto. There's always next year. See you next week.
Wow.